offices. Mrs. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, the meeting has been called to order. Please join me for us for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello.
Mr. Scaris has arrived. Hello, Mr. Scaris. I now need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll move. I'll
Second.
second.
It's been properly moved, and we have a second.
And who was the second?
Mr. Andrews,
Thank you.
are there any changes, additions, addendums?
The only addition is on the personnel agenda. It is denoted as item A2 and B2. There are additional staffing that we needed to add to this agenda based upon the need for substitutes and a student-specific aide, student-specific paraprofessional.
So, let's see, where are we at?
A2 and B.
A, so
A2 and B2.
you would have an A2 and a B2.
Yeah, there are two additional names added under A2 and B2.
Okay. I'm gonna look at that really quick here. And those are in the bolded print,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Other than, bless you, other than the bolded names under superintendent item, personnel items, A2 and B2, any others?
No.
Okay, being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Mr. Scares,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, the agenda has been adopted. Any community comments?
No, there are not.
Okay, and we're gonna move right into item 3, the consent agenda. Consent agenda item A, approval of meeting minutes from October 3rd, 2019, October 17, 2019, October 19, 2019, and October 30th, 2019. Consent agenda item B is acceptance of donations for the district, Westbrook Village and High School. Item C is approval of the FY20 student activities purpose statement and budgets for the high school arts club and for the high school African American History Club. And item D is approval of the out-of-state field trip for the high school choir. I need a motion.
I'll move. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions concerning the consent agenda items? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mr. Scares,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes. Item consent agenda passes. Treasurer's report.
Yes, I have a resolution to approve the financial reports. And there are 3 financial reports that are a part of the October 2019 reports. The first one is our cash reconciliation report, and it indicates that our bank statement is $6,191,411.19. Our investment balances are $31,220,252.21. We have outstanding vendor checks as indicated, and we have payroll adjustments in the amount of $10,212.32. Those payroll adjustments include a check that was issued to Ron Spence. That will fall off next month, and there were some other minor adjustments. So with those adjustments, the adjusted bank balance is $36,657,382.22. That does match exactly to the financial system meta. So our variance bank to book is 0.
I need a motion on the floor. Oh,
Two more.
okay.
The second one is our SM2, our financial report for revenues and expenditures. It indicates our monthly actuals and fiscal year to date for the month of October. So you can see revenue and expenditures, and all the way at the bottom you can see the ending cash balance and the outstanding encumbrances. At our Finance Committee meeting this evening, we Mrs. Bozeman and Mrs. Judah Freeman did go through the checks over $1,000 for the month of October, and there were 3 checks on the list that they had questions about. The first one was check number 93611 and the amount of $3,249. That was made out to Crisis Prevention Institute, and they wanted to know what that is. And it says registration for Suzanne Batchen apparently went to a nonviolent crisis intervention training in Dayton on October 8th through the 11th.
Is she a social?
Special education supervisor.
Okay.
Acronym is CPI, and that is the mandated training by the state that our folks that work with high-risk kids have to have. So she will be our in-house trainer, refresher for that.
The next one is check 93702 in the amount of $1,581. This was made out to Kimberly Scott, and it was tuition reimbursement for Kimberly. Okay. The last one that was asked about is check 93595 and the amount of $1,078, and it was made out to Boosters, Inc. And this says Ram mascot costume and then the tote bag. So apparently this was for our a new mascot, and then the bag to carry the new mascot in it, and that was paid out of the athletic fund. So those were the 3 checks that were asked about during the financial committee.
I now need a motion to accept Treasurer's item A as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and we have a second. Any other questions? Given none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mr. Scares,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. Next item is superintendent's report.
Superintendent's report is simply the personnel agenda. Certified personnel agenda denoted as A2. There are no changes other than the infusion of a additional substitute teacher on the agenda. Just based on the amount of uses of subs, we needed to increase our pool of subs, and this individual applied, and background check was recently approved, and we wanted to get them on the agenda as soon as possible. And then under B2, excuse me, we added an additional paraprofessional. This is for a student-specific assignment, and we went through the background check, the onboarding process. All information came back, and we need to assign a paraprofessional to this specific student. I believe the student's at the ELC, if I remember correctly. Other than that, there are no changes.
I need a motion on the floor for superintendent item A, personnel agenda.
I'll move. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and we have a second. Any questions?
I do have a couple questions. How many of these positions are funded out of general fund?
Let me pull it back up just a second. All of the after-school tutors are grant funded. All of the after-school tutors are grant funded. 21st Century is funded via that grant. All of the advisor positions are general fund positions. Several of the paraprofessionals are grant funded, and then there's also some 21st Century denotations on there as well.
Would the supplemental contracts be from general fund?
Supplemental contracts are general fund positions.
My only concern would be in light of the report that Ms. Allen gave us in regards to 50% of our overall budget being staffing. It just kind of concerns me that we still haven't come up, at least developed the conversation about what we're going to do in regards to our personnel. And I still would like to have that conversation.
I think Ms. Allen and I have had some direct communication that that's going to be one of our direct intents over the next couple of weeks to start talking about some of the things that we have to do to make some adjustments. So it is definitely in the docket per se to have those conversations.
And just so we're clear, unless the board does something to kind of get in control of the personnel or what we spend on personnel by 2021, I think it is 2022, we are looking at very large losses to our district's general fund. And it's a very serious conversation that we need to have and soon. So thank you. That's all I have.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mr. Scares,
No.
Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. Next item, discussion item updates. Item A, Five Rivers Health Center update.
Five Rivers is in the process of trying to complete the health center. Made a very we had a very interesting meeting last week, and they have again run into some issues with two major mechanical things, our items, drainage and fire suppression. So those are two things that the county, the local government will not let anyone occupy until those issues are rectified. This last week, we had the fire department in here, the fire marshal, and they are doing the best they can to try to rectify those issues. The biggest concern was actually whether or not they're going to be tapping into our water lines or they're going to run their own. So there's some mechanical issues as they're getting up in the roof that they're working through. The completion date has been moved back again based upon that information. We are looking to open the facility for people to be able to actually come and visit or have our grand opening closer to the first of the year at this point. As soon as I get the updated information, I will share that with the board. But those two issues, fire suppression and drainage especially if you're talking about bodily fluids, so on and so forth, is a huge one. But they are still confident that they will have the facility ready for inspection by the last week of December, second to last week of December, and the facility be open and ready to go at this point by the first of the year.
And we're going to do like a ribbon cutting and all that.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we'll do.
I submitted.
Press release, we'll do ribbon cutting.
I submitted information to their marketing department today, and they are going to be working directly with with Catapult. They're going to be working directly with Catapult to formulate some flyers, some information about the center, and then we will have a ribbon cutting ceremony. And Catapult will be working with us for that as well.
Do we have money left over in that contract?
There are some funds that are still available, and this was kind of earmarked for that. We kind of left this point for that, so it's going to be a pretty nice event. We just got to get. They just got to get it done, and they're just running.
We want it done right too.
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
if we
absolutely.
rush in there and then we have to stall on taking care of our students because of these problems, that's not good.
We have a flood.
Yeah. I'd rather just
Right.
get it right and go from there.
And if you go back there and look, it's going to be amazing. I mean, it's the transformation that has taken place structurally is incredible, but just mechanically, they just keep running into some issues.
Is it open back there?
It is not. It is not. It is still hard-headed. It's a hard-headed area, but if you come up one day, I do happen to have keys to just about everything.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have them, nobody does, all right?
So we can definitely tiptoe back there, and you can get a look and take a look at it. But it's not open during the day, but I don't have a problem getting back there. So if you want to just let me know, we'll go back there.
Which
But
way will the entrance be?
The entrance will be right here.
Okay.
At
While
this
they're
door
doing
right
all
here.
of this?
Right, so when you come in or someone comes in, there will be a sign right outside the door, and then that will be the entrance. You'll walk in, and there's a reception area. There's several offices, and then the long hallway. It's incredible, when you go back there and
Like
look
a
at
real
it.
health
Yeah,
center,
'cause-
huh?
Yeah.
So nobody's coming through this building? Okay.
No one will be coming through the building, and then after hours, there will be specific parking for that, and during the day, we'll work on that as well.
So they'll have extended hours?
They will work through the evening, and we're gonna work all those
Okay.
details out, but they'll work to the evening, maybe to about 5 or 6 to give
Okay.
parents an opportunity to come back if they need to.
Okay.
And to this point, we have already secured consent forms. We've secured, Ella, what else have we secured? Consent forms, transportation. So there's a lot of work Right. So those little details of, if a kid gets sick, how they get over here, all of that stuff is in process. It's just those pipes and that drainage back there. There's just a lot of work to be done because that area probably wasn't ready for that, but they'll work through it. We'll work through it.
Well, we've always had drainage problems
Yeah,
in
that
this
was the
building. I mean,
That's
there's
true.
always been
That's
flooded
true.
before.
Last year.
Yeah, so,
Last year,
and I don't know if we fixed that.
Yeah, that's a huge fix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure, huge costly fix, okay?
So we might just have to deal with that for a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, we just prioritize and
Right.
get stuff done.
Yeah.
As long as there's one bathroom that's operable in this building. I think. All right, Central State Extension Program.
Minor?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm very pleased to bring you an update on our partnership. And I could say that because some of the activities have started with Central State Extension. You may remember us speaking about meeting with them on November 1st, so we did. And they're, because they have the land grant, they have extensive resources that they can offer to us for free. So they're online curricular resources that are connected with STEM, healthy living, all types of curricular things, a whole website full that they offered us and showed us in the meeting. So we're using those in our after-school programs. We also have plans to integrate our partnership with Central State Extension into our summer programming. We're trying to cut back on some of the costs, and some of our partners, the vendors, the cost was high. Well, these are free or very limited. And so they have a program where we can have they have a partnership with 4-H. So we can have 4-H volunteers, and some of our high school students can sign up and get trained in leadership for 4-H junior volunteers. And so we're trying to work out a plan with them now to set that up for them to help with some of our summer programs as well. Right now, we're using the STEM lab curriculums. Our National Junior Honor Society at the middle school is using the leadership curriculum. Mr. Kevin McGee is our contact for the extension, and he's also has set up a Donna Kuykendall to come in and work directly with our sixth graders. So we've got more coming, but that's what we're doing right now.
How often are the middle school, I think Mr. Gibson mentioned that leadership part yesterday at our DLT. So they've already started?
Yes, because we're with a partner with Central State Extension and they have a land grant, it's a free online curriculum.
Oh,
So the leadership tools and training that we put the kids through, our advisors have access to it so they can use it right now.
okay, so it's an online, there's not a teacher, instructor coming in?
Our advisor can use it, just
Okay,
pull the resources from online and start using it live right away. Same with our STEM class, it's just online curricular, and because we're their partner, they provided us access to these resources.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you. Next up, treasurer's comments.
Yes, there are two items under my treasurer's comment. The first one is the treasurer's update. And I just wanted to let the entire board know that on, I think it was Monday, the Montgomery County had a press release on the revenue loss related to the tornadoes. And Trotwood was up at the very top in terms of revenue loss. And so they've estimated $320,000 revenue loss, but a net of 265. So what the net 265 means, all of the new construction that's coming into the district, that will offset the 320,000. And so when I read in the paper about that, that new development of homes, I also keep reading about some potential development of the Salem Mall. All of that will go against offsetting the 320. And so looking at the November 5-year forecast that we filed, the next 2 years, we had estimated $173,000. So we were off about 90-something thousand dollars. And so hopefully that net will be a lot more, and then we'll be right on target in terms of our November 5-year. And if not, we will go back in May and revise those revenue projections for the county.
And let me also add to that, when Mr. Keith came here to kind of convey to individuals whose homes were damaged, contact the auditor's office to get a devaluation so you pay less property taxes. He did not mention if in the event you have repaired your home that your value will go up. Mm-hmm. And you still need to contact the auditor's office in order to make sure that you get, a higher appraisal or a higher valuation. Mm-hmm. in regards to the repairs that have been made. And so the budget shortfall, which is that 173 or so, could even still go down even more because there are plenty of people who are rebuilding. Mm-hmm. And I think the narrative is that Trotwood isn't rebuilding and that people are just kind of flying away. Yeah. It's just not, it's not true. It's not true at all.
And there's also been an initiative by the county superintendents to tap into our local legislators and request that the governor consider tapping into the rainy day fund that at this point sits at about $3 billion to help with that shortfall. So there have been a couple letters penned. The county superintendents are putting together a couple letters. You know, and again, it's a shot in the dark, but it is an attempt to, you know, what other way to use rainy day fund money than, you know, support, you know, the three major districts, Brookville, Northridge, Trotwood, and Dayton, that have those shortfalls. So it's nothing that we can bank on, but there is some rumblings that there's a possibility there will be a small submission to, you know, to those shortfalls.
I'm sorry.
So in February, when the school boards can go up and speak, you know, on record, and I think you went last year, that's one of the things, and we had talked about it in the finance committee meeting, where our voice then can carry as a school board member that you have FEMA to support, you know, the personal homes. Well, we're the school district and those losses now are showing up in our budget. So we need to make sure that we get their ear as well. But I do like that the superintendents are already addressing it.
So I heard about that. I will be at the governor's mansion for a pro-life dinner on December 2nd. And I did intend on bringing that up to him, because we'll all have a couple minutes alone with him, to kind of go over a plethora of issues. But I do intend on bringing that up, because we had a conference call about 2 weeks ago and it was also mentioned. So he does know about it.
Yeah.
And it's not as far-fetched, I think, as some might think. It's just a lot of red tape. So
That's good. Well, then we're really getting in his ear, because I have a meeting set up with the governor second week of December as well to discuss really unfunded mandates that we are looking at, you know, again with the McKinney-Vento, and not just the things that impact Trotwood, but all our local municipalities as a whole, making sure that they understand what that looks like. This is not every day that you get F4 tornadoes that rip through a community and the impact of that. So between the superintendents are doing at the county, and Norman, your conversation, my conversation, I believe that we may be able to have some headway. Yeah, and then again, Vanessa, February, you know, we go up as a board and maybe organize ourselves and get their ear, all the legislators.
Another thing I wanted to bring to your attention today, I had the opportunity to travel to Columbus. Well, last night I actually traveled to Columbus. Today there was a meeting, and I was selected to be on this committee, and it was 8 of us that actually went through the evaluation standards for treasurers. And one of the pathways to become a treasurer is to take a test. And so we were developing the framework for the test. So it was a very, I had never been part of something like this, but it was very enlightening. Just an update on the FY19 audit. They're supposed to be completed by the end of December. So you guys will be updated on that. And then at the bottom, just some things, meetings, and I'll be on vacation next Wednesday. So I did indicate that. And then the second the information that I provided was the finance packet that we went over in the finance committee. So you guys have that as well. And that was all I had this evening.
Thank you. Okay, board committee. Any reports?
In regards to the policy committee, we have a meeting come up on the 9th. The equity policy that Ms. Minor and Mr. Howard kind of brought up, I do want to present to Neola, to see what we can do about incorporating something like that. But that's the only update in regards to policy.
Mr. Scares, could you repeat what you just said in terms of bringing up to the?
At our last, I don't know if it was the last meeting, maybe 2 meetings ago, there was an equity policy that kind of came up in conversation. I think Cincinnati, I can't remember where the example policy came from.
Cincinnati and Baltimore.
Yeah.
Baltimore, one of the two.
Yeah, you sent those to us?
Yeah, I was gonna present that to Norm at our meeting on the 9th. in addition to all of the regular updates that we're going to be doing to policy at that meeting.
All right, thank you.
Superintendent comments?
I do have just a few comments. I've included 4 attachments and 1 piece of paper. Sorry, Ms. Bozeman. The first is a board member institute that the county is providing free of charge to board members for general updates, general induction, general information. It is scheduled for February 8th. And it starts at 8:30 at the county. It is just something that they are offering, and if you're interested, please let me know, and I can put your information down and forward it to them. They ask for a RSVP by January 27th. But again, it's just something that the districts have asked that the county provide, and there will just be a litany of different information with regards to representing your community on the school board. So again, if you're interested, just let me know. The second flyer is for the Business Advisory Council Annual Dinner. I believe some of you may have attended this in the past. I need to give them a RSVP by, I believe, January 26th as well. The dinner is scheduled for, February 5th. The dinner is scheduled for February 26th, and they are just interested in making sure they provide the information about how the boards and the BAC through the county are in partnership, and they will also be discussing the joint statement of work. If you've attended in the past, you're familiar with the program. So I would also just need an RSVP, or if you are interested, just let me know. Number 3, the third flyer is just a reminder. I shared this with you last meeting. This upcoming Tuesday, the Right Way Foundation will be sponsoring a Thanksgiving feast. This was a RSVP only event. It will be held in the high school cafeteria, and it is open to the communities that were affected by the tornado. So it's just not a Trotwood thing. It will start at 6 o'clock, and they are estimating to serve over about, right now, I think they have 450 people that have RSVP. So if you are able to attend, please do. BAM's Thanksgiving feast. BAM, of course, is one of our alumni, and Dr. Shanetta Sutton is sponsoring it with him as well. So it is a free of charge Thanksgiving meal. And like I said, I believe at this point they have close to 450, 460 people that have RSVP. The fourth flyer is a initiative that Mrs. Williams, one of our curriculum coordinators started. It is not a crowd fund, but it is an opportunity for people externally of the district and internally to purchase toys during the holiday season for our students. There is really nothing that we have to do, staff has to do, other than just forward the link. And these toys are specifically geared towards development. They're not just standard, toys, action figures, so on and so forth. We are teaming with Discovery Toys, and all of the toys that are purchased, 20% of that, I believe, comes back to the district as a fundraiser. So we want to just make sure we get that out to as many entities as we can. And it has all the information, and the link is live, I believe, at this point for anyone that's interested in supporting the district and purchasing of Discovery Toys. Discovery Toys, or Discovery Ed, is a vendor that we use that focuses on educational items, educational supplies, and they have this toy initiative that provides parents with toys that are actually engaging and work on different things like comprehension, motor skills, so on and so forth. So I wanted to share that with you with the hopes that if you have an opportunity to get it out there. And again, no cost to the district, just an initiative that we felt was in good nature.
What grade levels?
I believe the toys are for, I don't know, maybe up to 12 grades, age 12.
Things all the way up for high school.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's pre-K through, it's all our grade levels.
Kids of all ages.
It's educational.
Right. So I stand corrected.
Okay,
Yep. Mhm.
all right, thank
All
you.
right, so yeah, anyone that you can forward that to, and the link is live on our Facebook page, I believe. The link is live on our Facebook page. And lastly, the one piece of paper that I did provide, and I would have waited till December in my update, but because it's so close to that date, our our choir and our singers group has been invited to participate in the DCDC In the Spirit of Abundant Blessings celebration. The performance is December 7th and December 8th. We will be working with, I believe, Darren Bale and someone else to get our young people prepared to participate in this event. And I wanted to share that with you. I am supposed to be getting information about tickets if you're interested in going, but I wanted to make sure, I just got this today. So I don't have all the details, but they have been invited, and I wanted to make sure you were aware in the event that you had time on your calendar to attend.
Does the high school choir and the singers, do they have uniforms or do they have some sort of outfit that they wear?
Mrs. Bruno, I believe we do.
We have updated t-shirts that the kids have fundraised for. We have ordered black polos with a logo that we've created, and we are working on a process with curriculum for robes for both the choir and the singers. So all of that is just in process. However, it's been asked for this performance that it is a casual and laid back. They want a youthful look on stage, and so Mr. Bell had come for rehearsal today in class with his son Darren Bell Jr., who's with Judah Band, and it was decided that in the appearance of high school kids, that they truly look like high school kids on stage in jeans and Trotwood gear and something that represents truly who they are. That's the way that we will be performing at the Victoria on the 7th and the 8th.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Board comments, Mr. Andrews?
I don't have any this year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Scares?
Just a few, thank you.
Huh?
First of all, I had a blast at the National Alliance for Black School Educators, presenting in that session with Ms. Moore and Ms. Minor. That was really, really phenomenal. Also, I want to thank Ms. Isaac for her assistance in our church's efforts and partnership with the Hope Church to give away $20,000 for affected families that were affected by the tornado. I apologize that the telephone number was incorrect. I did email you with a correct number that the families can call to RSVP. Each family identified through the district, as well as St. Vincent de Paul, will receive a $500 gift card. And I wanted to extend an invitation to the board. This probably would be a good opportunity to use some of the resources and funds given to the district through Springboro City Schools to kind of up that ante a little bit. It's a partnership opportunity. If not, we understand that, but we are eager to serve and to give to these families in this way. The dinner will be December 13th at our church inside the gymnasium from 6:30 to 8 p.m. None of the families know that they will be receiving the gift card. They've just been asked to come and to be honored and have a dinner. And there's also another organization through the University of Dayton that's going to add more gift cards to an additional 50 families as well. So please, if you can come out, we're not asking the media to come or anything like that because we want to honor the anonymity of the families. But December 13th from 6:30 to 8 p.m., we will honor at least 40 families, 25 or so coming from the school district, 15 coming through St. Vincent de Paul. I think that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bozeman?
I do not have any comments. Thank you.
Ms. Jeter Freeman?
Coming on our district leadership team meeting yesterday, I thought it went really, really good. It was a lot of engagement. and I like that we switched up. We started with one school, and then we got to move to a group of mixed teachers, administrators, and so it was a good discussion. And I think the professional learning community is taking shape, and those were professional learning conversations. And I think they were really open. One of the things our middle school principal mentioned is that our students have not gone to DC in several years. So he wanted to throw out perhaps using some of the funds to support some of those families. So I'm putting it out for discussion, consideration, but we do want, and I also I noticed though that the choir is going to New York, and each student is required to have over $1,000. So how did they do that?
That's the starting price. And actually I got it down, since I've turned in the paperwork, I was able to get the price down to about $1,100 per student, but that's everything included. They literally pack a bag, get on the bus, and they can be gone the whole week, but we fundraise quite a bit. The last 2 years, we fundraised about $20,000 to $25,000 every year. And that goes, and my hope this year is that I will be able to get the cost down to $600 or $700. And so with the various fundraisers that we do, depending on how well the kids do, and that they're able to get their own costs down at times, because it's a partnership with the travel company rather than it being run necessarily through the district. And so we just do a lot of fundraisers.
So about how much out of pocket with the parents? So you defray the cost?
The last 2 years, the parents have paid about $850 for the week.
That's still quite a bit.
The
So
DC trip is about $630
yeah,
per student.
and that's $850 after fundraising.
No,
No?
yeah, after fundraising at that time, yes.
Yeah, right. And how many students?
How many kids go? This year, there are 45 signed up to go. The
So,
largest group we've taken.
so I don't know if there's, yeah,
The foundation has, the Trotwood-Madison Education Foundation has given donations. Peace Place in the community, they have given donations. Trotwood Church of the Brethren, they have provided some donations as well.
so I guess it's a way, if we can figure out a way to get sponsors, but we really do, and I think we really want to provide that opportunity back for our students. I don't know.
I would love to use some of those donations for that, but I don't think that's,
It's,
you know.
okay, yeah, I spoke with Janice today about that because, I'm sorry, I didn't want to.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's a discussion.
Well,
Yeah, I think so.
we're not going to be able to do that sort of, giving along the lines of Washington DC. Those funds are earmarked specifically for our students that were, impacted by the tornado. Now, if some of those students, I'm just trying to on the line here.
Right.
If some of those students are part of that group, I've already spoken with Springboro about those dollars because we have to be very careful of how we allocate those dollars. When they collected those dollars, Ms. Isaac, if you recall, we had this big thing with uniforms, okay? Uniforms. Well, since then, we've come back and we're in a different phase of recovery, and we will be in different phases for probably the next several years, 5 to 8 years. And given that, the conversation is their major concern. These funds cannot go in general fund. These funds cannot go for professional development. These funds cannot just be allocated to the general population and the mass population, but they want to make sure that these funds actually go to support the needs of those students that were impacted. So again, we can't give scholarships with this money, nothing along those lines. However, there's some wiggle room on what we can do for those students that fall within that category of really being at a disadvantage, because there are so many little things that people didn't think about. Okay, when you lose your home, you lose everything in your home. And every little thing costs. Like, even though they got FEMA dollars and they applied for local donors, contributions, those families are having to buy dish rags, towels, forks, spoons. I mean, every little thing that's going to impact their budget. I remember when all the power went out, you guys remember, I mean, this was before the tornadoes, families lost $300-400 worth of food. I know I lost a lot of food, you guys as well, in the freezer. Just to come back and recuperate from losses such as food and basic necessities, we got to factor that in at what that looks like when we talk about a Washington, D.C. trip. Well, when we talk about what it looks like for New York and what it looks like for students that are trying to participate, but there's a shortfall. So I've talked with Janice a little bit about those funds because I had to report back last night to Springboro about the usage of those funds so that we didn't muddy the waters in any way. And we are going to be making sure that any distributions of those funds, that comes through the board, okay? Because that was a board directive through Springboro and district directive. Not so much for vote, because we know that they're going to be appropriated correctly, but the board needs to be a part and aware of how those dollars are being allocated. Because at the end of the day, we're going to have to answer to that, to Springboro.
So it doesn't have to be uniforms, but it has to be something for the students who bring it.
Right. So last night I was talking to them and I was saying, it's wintertime. It's maybe coats, hats, scarves, and shoes. It may be those things. And then as the seasons change, they may need clothing. They're going to grow. They're not going to be the same size they were Memorial Day. So it's going to be ongoing, but we want to make sure that we pack the support around those students and families, because they were impacted. So as long as we can make sure that thread is clean, we're good. Any other comments?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. My comment would be National Alliance of Black School Educators in Dallas. It was phenomenal. I mean, all the sessions were just amazing and incredible. There was so much learning. I want to personally thank Ms. Miner. Let's give Ms. Miner a hand. Ms. Miner did an excellent job. Excellent job on the presentation. We had a nice crowd in the room. We had folks from all over. I know we did this presentation in Columbus, if you guys recall. However, we changed the entire presentation the day before, the day and a half before. And because what we found is we talked about what Trotwood had done, but we never shared why and how it would be applicable to other districts. And again, people needed to connect to that. After the presentation, we ran over, if you recall, Mr. Scares. Okay, we ran way over. We didn't mean to run over, but the audience was so engaged that they wouldn't let us go. And we've been invited to work with a district in North Carolina on their turnaround efforts. They were so impressed with us. We may do it video conferencing. We may go there. I don't know. But the bottom line is they want to know how much we charge. It was just awesome. But it was such a great conference, and it was a good opportunity. I was later, approached by NAPSI, the conference promoters, saying you guys were here last year. You did a good job laying the foundation of nearly escaping a state takeover. Now you guys came back with where you are today with stabilization, and they've asked us to come back following year for follow-up, because Trotwood is an ongoing story, and it's something that other districts can learn from, and they were very interested in our work. So very excited about that. Also, go ahead, Mr. Scares.
No, I don't want to interrupt you. I'll wait to the end.
Go right ahead.
I do want to, I did come across this small piece of information, and I can't think of the Senate bill number, but there is a piece of legislation that has already passed the Senate, and going to the General Assembly. that, or the way it stands now, if there's a failing district somewhere in the area, they can, parents can opt to send their children someplace else.
Ed choice, is that the ed
Yeah,
choice?
so, but the new legislation states that if any district has one failing area in the overall report card, regardless of what the overall grade is that parents will still get the opportunity to send their children wherever they want to under the Ed Choice plan. So I won't know probably until sometime next week what that looks like in General Assembly, but it has already passed the House. Peggy Lehner, it was something they kind of slid in
They started off.
that will be extremely detrimental to districts everywhere. So I wanted to make sure I told
There was a
everybody.
huge discussion at the county superintendent's meeting with regards to that, and actually formulating a group of superintendents, board members, other interested parties to have some real serious and direct dialogue with Peggy Lehner, Philip Plummer, so on and so forth, because now it's starting to affect affluent districts. It's starting to affect districts that don't look like ours.
They're gonna lose money.
And now with their antennas up per se, there's a real concern that they're gonna start funneling money to private entities to fund private education. So what you're saying is completely correct.
And if by chance, when we learn of, because I can't think of when it goes through committee, but if anybody can be a part of the opponent testimony to testify before whatever committee it has to go forth before the General Assembly votes, I would say, anybody and everybody, because that affects everybody. If you can find a time to go to Columbus, once we find out when the committee hearings are, to go and just say why you think this is a terrible idea, try to stop it from going to General Assembly for a vote.
Now, legislative attorney Will Swartz, yeah, he normally sends the emails out that will tell us, so the alert of the
I'll keep my eyes
emails.
open for it.
Yeah.
I'll keep my eyes open for it.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's good information. Thank you.
President,
Yes.
I was just going to say, in your financial packets, I'm looking at the Ed Choice scholarships to date. And we have spent 120, well, not we, but they transferred almost $130,000 just through October. So we're only on the third of the year, and you can imagine how much more that's going to be transferred out of our district. And so that's huge. And so when you talk about testifying, I wouldn't mind testifying about
Well,
that.
I think we need to put that whole story together, even with the superintendents, because it's not just our 3 districts that were impacted by the tornado that lost dollars and students, but in property taxes. But now with the Ed Choice, you're further taking money out. So we need to show that stream of dollars that are moving from our district, if we can, Ms. Al.
And to be very frank, now you have a different group of people.
Right, exactly.
That are going to start supporting
Right.
that initiative.
They will
as well.
support us because last year, the only 2 schools on the news for failing was Dayton and Trotwood. And if you notice, you haven't heard much this year because there's over 11, and they weren't expecting those. So,
Well, when
yeah,
you're
it's
sitting
a
in
good time for
when
a
you're sitting in a meeting with
conversation.
superintendents and you see in Northmont and Fairfield, and you see these guys smoking that, you say, oh, you guys are starting to feel some of the heat that we've been feeling over the last 20 years. So I appreciate you bringing that information to the forefront, and whatever information I get, I will share with the board.
And Ms. Moore and I also received some information in Dallas, and I don't know if you want to
Go
share
ahead.
that in regards to the moratorium that the state
Yes.
put on district takeover. It doesn't actually, so it's kind of retroactive. So once the moratorium is over in regards to whatever grade any district received, you start back over at whatever that grade was. So you may have gotten a C or a D or whatever during the moratorium, but because it's a moratorium, it doesn't count. So you'll go back to the year, whatever that grade was before the moratorium picked up, and it will still sequence through.
The
So
process.
Right, it'll still sequence through the process. So districts like Dayton, fortunately, we were blessed enough to be able to escape that before the moratorium. But that's another thing to really kind of take into consideration, because the moratorium really didn't stop anything. It just kind of halted anything without any sure plan to fix what the overall issue is. So just kind of be mindful of that as well.
Yeah, because we are, nobody is out of the woods.
No.
I mean, nobody is, and we are still in rescue mode because, again, we cannot be lax when it comes to what the state is going to do next. And with that said, Mr. Scarce and I had a really good evening in Springboro last night. We were able to present and recognize and acknowledge their district and their administrative staff for the efforts for the tornado relief. And that was so great. I just want to give staff and Mr. Howard, you guys, a huge big hand for those posters.
They were there.
Oh my gosh, those posters were amazing. They love the posters. I mean, the fact that the board presented a plaque, which was beautiful, by the way, it was great. But it meant so much more to have those kids sign on those posters, and they're framed, and they were like, where's the pre-K? You know, where's the early learning center? Where's the middle school? And they were looking at the handwriting saying, oh, okay, that's the little ones. And, you know, so it was so good. They got so excited about that. And I believe that was on the news. Somebody was telling me they saw that on the news. But again, it was a really, it was a good opportunity for us. And they want to do more with us. We want to look at really and truly, I shared with you a little bit today, Ms. Uter Freeman, you know, we have foreign exchange students. We don't have to go overseas. We have local municipalities. We have a sister district. Maybe we can do some cross education, cross learning, that sort of thing, not just with students, but Ms. Freeman came up with a really great idea. Staff. Teachers, our teachers, their teachers. But again, there's just so many great possibilities that to work with Springboro and other districts as well. So that's all. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you guys for pulling all that together. And also thank you guys for what you do. Want to wish everybody a very safe and happy holiday. Enjoy your families, enjoy your time off. And again, we just want to say thank you for all you do. Next, I need anything else, guys? Ms.
I do have.
Okay, I knew it. I knew it.
I just want to let the board know, I do have the plaque and the proclamations that the athletic department was awarded for their support during the tornado at the Chamber of Commerce annual dinner. There were a couple proclamations as well, but I do have those and I'll share those with you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for reminding me.
All right. Okay, at this point, I need a motion to go into executive session, a resolution to enter into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual per Board of Education Policy 0166 and ORC 121.22 G1.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll and no action will be taken?
Mr. Scarce,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. We will enter into executive session at 6:29 PM.